everybody, my name is Tanya and welcome to my May wrap up. You're coming down now. Hello everybody, my name is Tanya and welcome to my May wrap up. Now I'm filming this kind of midday on the 31st, so I've still got a whole afternoon, evening of reading to do, but I don't see that my situation is going to change all that much between now and then, so I've decided I'm going to film this wrap up early so I can get my TBR film before Monday. So there's quite a lot of books, so let's get into it. The first book I completed in May was my Agatha Christie for the month, and that is Five Little Pigs. This was a buddy read with Eleanor from Eleanor Reads Books, and I will leave a link to her down in the description. This one is a favourite of mine of Agatha Christie's works, and it was Eleanor's first, so it was a great experience reading alongside her. It was really great getting emails about her thoughts about who done it and how she was going with it. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I am a huge fan of Agatha Christie. I talk about her a lot on my channel, so to spread the love and get somebody else reading her work is fantastic. This one is about the murder of Amyas Crail, and his wife Caroline has been convicted of his murder. 16 years later, their daughter comes to Poirot and wants him to investigate what really happened. Caroline has since died in prison, and the letter that she wrote to her daughter on her deathbed professes her innocence, so she now wants to find out what really happened. And so there are 5 suspects, the 5 little pigs of the title, 5 other people who were there at the time that may have committed that murder. I'm not going to go any further into the plot than that because I think it's best to go into these not knowing all that much. But as I said, there are the 5 main suspects, and it's the process of finding out, did one of them do it? So I was really pleased to get to this one in my chronological read through. It's been a long time since I've read this one, and it still stands up to the test of time. It remains one of my favourite Agatha Christie's. The next work I completed was an audiobook, and that was Fools of Fortune by William Trevor. I'd started this one at the very end of April and finished it off fairly early in the month of May. This one is set shortly after the First World War and at the time of the Irish War of Independence. It follows the character of Willie Quinton and something horrible that happens in his childhood and the effect that that has on the rest of his life. It does reveal what that is in a lot of blurbs that I've read, but I'm going to keep it rather obscure. But something happens in his childhood that has that really long-reaching consequences for him and for his family, and he's never quite the same afterwards. This is my second William Trevor and my second William Trevor on audiobook. I absolutely fell in love with the first book I read of his, which was The Story of Lucy Gold, which is horrible and heartbreaking, and you know, horrible things happen in that one as well. And in that case, I absolutely fell in love with it. I thought it was just an amazing, moving, wonderful book. This one I never quite connected with Willie or with any of the other characters. I definitely felt for Willie and their situation, and it was very well written. I just never connected on it to the level that I did with Lucy Gold. I was really looking forward to reading more William Trevor because I had such a great experience with the first one of his. I am still definitely looking forward to reading more of his works. Just this one at this time and maybe in the audiobook didn't quite connect. And also for a stupid reason, I really enjoyed Lucy Gold and the Irish accent of the narrator, which this one is mostly with a British accent, so which is a really stupid reason not to connect with a book. But I do think that did add an extra element of enjoyment to the story of Lucy Gold, if you can say you enjoyed a story like that, because it's just heartbreaking. Next up, I finally finished the Swan book by Alexis Wright, and I still don't think I have anything coherent to say about this. This is the one that I read with Jane from Yes Miss Jane, and I am so sorry, Jane. I really dropped the ball on this one and not really had all that much to say to you after I finished this one. I really need to fix that, but I'm still kind of reeling from this one. This is one of the most unusual and unique writing styles that I've ever read, and the story within it is definitely... There's so much in this one, and there's so much that I don't think I got. It was a really interesting reading experience, and I'm definitely glad that I read it, but I still have really no idea what to say about it or what to rate it in any way, because I don't think I'm in any way qualified to make judgment on it. In basics, this is a story of Oblivia, who is a young Aboriginal girl who is savagely gang raped as a child, and also the story of Warren, who becomes the first Aboriginal President of Australia, and kind of what happens when he comes to claim Oblivia as his promised bride. Oblivia is understandably incredibly damaged by her experiences as a child. She's never really recovered. She's basically mute and has been raised by an older white woman. There's so much to this that I'm sure I'm not getting. So very much in basics, that's what it's about. Warren is a character I've never managed to quite get the motivations of, and it's so intriguing and so bizarre, and it definitely makes me feel dumb. So all in all, I'm really pleased that I read this one. I think it is a very interesting book, and it's something that I'm really glad to have read. I just think it does need a little bit more investigating to see whether I can get it a little bit clearer in my head as to what the purpose and themes of this one is, because I think that there's a lot more that needs to be read into it than the superficial level. And just the writing is so complex, and it was definitely an incredibly unique reading experience. Next up, I decided to participate in the Better Books 13 Readathon, and I was able to achieve a lot during that week. I have put up a wrap-up of the Readathon, although I didn't talk all the way about the books because I'm wanting to talk about them in individual review videos, but I will show you quickly what I read during that week. So first I finished Inda by Sherwood Smith, which was my Booktube Recommends project book of April. I have filmed a separate review about this one, I just have to edit it and get it up, but that will be coming soon. Next I read the 3 books that came in the 4th Book Right quarterly box. That's What We See When We Read by Peter Menison, is The Cylinder Contract by Adam Langer, and then Maps and Legends by Michael Chabon. And my wrap up for the 4th Book Right quarterly box has gone up, and I will link that down below. Alongside What We See When We Read, I also read Well Read Women by Samantha Hahn, which is portraits of different women from literature. I talked about this a little bit more in my Better Books wrap-up, which again I will leave a link to down below, but this is absolutely stunning and I would highly recommend it. And then I was able to read the 2 books from the 5th Book Right quarterly box, which were Mr. Fox by Helen Oyeyemi and Ms. Marble Volume 1 No Normal. And again, my wrap-up video for the 5th Book Right quarterly box has also been filmed. I just need to edit it and it will be coming soon. After Better Books finished, I then read My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. This was the book that I won from Stephanie from Time to Read. It was her favourite book of March, so I was super excited to get to this one. Will you please sit down? This is the first in a series of novels following the friendship of 2 young girls, Eleanor and Lila. This one covers the period of their childhood through to adolescence, set in 1950s Italy, and I really enjoyed it. As I said, this covers the friendship between Eleanor and Lila, and it's a complex relationship. So it's a friendship, and a strong friendship, but it's also one of rivalry and competition, and of jealousy and resentment. This is told from the perspective of Eleanor, or Linu, and the character of her friend, the friend of the title, My Boob Friend, is Lila, and she is a very interesting character. So she definitely is very strong-willed and very forceful in her personality, and drags Eleanor along in a lot of their escapades, as this one goes through their childhood up to their adolescence, and so we stop at that point. I spoke about how Stephanie had talked about the ending and that it was so emotionally draining for her, and I now understand what she's talking about. It's very much a series open ending for what happens next. It kind of ends mid-scene, if you will, and I really need to know what happens next, so I'm hoping I will be able to pick up more in the series soon. There are currently 3 out in the series, with a 4th and I think final planned for later this year. This is the Neapolitan novels. I found the setting of 1950s Italy really interesting, and how schooling works there and the social constraints of the time. I found that all to be really interesting and definitely added a sense of place for the story. There's a prologue at the beginning of this that just really sets things up, and I'm dying to know the explanation of that prologue, but I suspect we're not going to get that until the end of the last book in the series, so I'll be hanging out a fair while to get the answers to that one. So I started this one with a bang with the prologue. I thought it was fantastic. I was quite slow through the middle, but there was a point at the end and I just couldn't stop, and I stayed up way too late one night to finish this because I just couldn't put it down. I get way too tired way too early now. It's horrendous, but this one I didn't get tired. I just stayed glued to the page and I couldn't put it down until I got to the end. So thank you again, Stephanie, for sending this one to me. I am so glad I won this particular giveaway. I think this was a fantastic book, and it's not something that I'd heard about elsewhere, and probably not something that I would have picked up outside of this, and it just shows how many amazing books are out there that you're not reading. Next up, I finished American Gods by Neil Gaiman. This one I did decide to go with on audiobook. This was my Booktube Recommends pick of the month, and it was recommended to me by Jane from Yes Miss Jane, and I'm so pleased to have finally read it. This is something that's been sitting on my shelf for a very long time, so I'm really pleased for the push to have finally picked it up. As with all of my Booktube Recommends books, I will talk more about this in an individual review video, but in general I really enjoyed it. I think it was fantastic. As I said, the audiobook was superb. I definitely would recommend that. This is basically the story of what happens when settlers and immigrants to America bring their ancient gods over with them in their beliefs, and then what happens to those gods when people stop believing in them. It also deals with conflict between those ancient gods and a newer breed of gods who have developed from society, so the gods of media and of the internet, and what happens when there's a war brewing between these 2 opposing sides. I thoroughly enjoyed this one, and we'll talk more about it soon. And so that brings me up to now. I am currently reading Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare, and I will finish this by the end of the day, but as always with my school books, I will be talking about that in some kind of individual video or a year wrap up. I still haven't really thought about what I am doing with those videos, and another month has gone by, but in either case I am still reading the books. So I've actually downloaded an audio version of this that's produced by LA Theatre Works, and I am currently listening to that alongside reading through the book, which I'm finding is a really rewarding experience, and I will have finished this one by the end of today. I've also made a start on the complete stories of Flannery O'Connor. I'm only a few stories in at the moment, but I'm hoping I will check off a few more before the end of the day as well. But as I mentioned, I wasn't expecting to read this all in the month, I just wanted to get started on it, so I'm really happy with that. And then the book that I really wanted to get to that I haven't started at this point, and I might start this afternoon, we'll see what happens, but that is The Fox by Sherwood Smith. I did finish Inda finally this month, but I just didn't move on to the second book in the series, so now I am a month behind. And I'm really looking forward to getting into this one, it just didn't quite happen during the month. But I can't be too upset because these were the books I was able to finish in the month of May, which is fantastic. So I am incredibly happy about everything in here, even if I wasn't able to get to The Fox. I think I have done amazingly well. I'm so pleased that I did end up participating in Battle Books and reading the books from the Book Riot Quarterly boxes. I know I keep talking about them over and over on this channel, which is just going to get boring for everybody. But now I'm basically caught up. I've got only 2 books from the latest box to read, which are on my plans for June. So I will be all caught up very, very shortly. So let me know if you've read any of these ones or if you have any questions. As always, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!